holistic approach, I was thinking about as you were talking that doing those things is not even just for your emotional benefit, but I mean, our bodies are so intricate, and the hormonal, imbalances that happen when you're experiencing all of these emotions, and then also like the hormones that are released when you're experiencing happier moments, when you're, so I would say to some extent, like seeing those signs, if it really brings you a sense of comfort when you see them, letting yourself have that, leaning into it, also can lead to this physical like improvement, I think, and rebalancing
Yeah.
of releasing the
Endorphins,
dopamine and
yeah, dopamine,
mhm,
serotonin, all those good feelings. And when you're grieving, you have, or when you're traumatized, you have hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that do untold damage to the body. So let's take anything that is going to counterbalance that, really.
mhm,
Just from that aspect, it's important that we do anything that makes us feel a little bit better. Like you were
mhm,
talking about meditation, things like energy healing, Reiki, that kind of stuff. It all just, it doesn't, it's not going to change what's happened. But if it gives us a moment of respite, then
mhm,
we need to take it.
mhm. Yeah, and it's a
Mhm.
domino effect that then
Yeah.
leads into maybe it's easier for you to like reach for that healthier food, or
Mm.
you are less stressed throughout the day about all the other random things, happening because you've taken a moment to like find some balance and some peace at some
Yeah.
point during your day. And because I think when you talk about the physical things that are also symptoms of grief, it feels like it's this cascading effect, right? It starts with the trauma and the emotional loss, but then it like knocks over everything. I mean, like I didn't sleep. I was on like high alert all the time. I couldn't calm my mind down. I gained like 30 pounds in I think like the first 6 months. And I wasn't binge eating or eating, ridiculous amounts of food, but I think all of those things that were happening in my body that I didn't understand because I don't have that level of education about my physical system. I never needed to, but were wreaking havoc
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well,
And
the
it seems
cortisol will
like,
affect, that probably was the cause. Cortisol, the stress hormone, can lead to weight gain. I mean, it's,
mm-hmm,
and I did
yeah,
have a little bit of this knowledge. It didn't make any difference. It was still all happening to me as well. But it's,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, as you know, Bessel van der Kolk, the trauma specialist, he's written a book called The Body Keeps the Score. The body
mm-hmm,
keeps the score. So when you have huge trauma like loss of a child, that has what did you call it, cascading or a ripple effect? I can't remember what you said, but that
mm-hmm,
sort of knock-on effect through everything. So
mm-hmm,
anything we can do to counterbalance that, meditation, breathing exercises, and sleep. I mean, sleep goes out of the window, and that's like a
mm-hmm,
particular form of torture. You've lost your child, and then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you can't sleep, and you're going to a very very dark place. It's it's feel there's a cruelty about it,
mm-hmm,
and you
yeah,
have to somehow claw your way back as much as you can. And some people struggle more than others with that.
mm-hmm, yeah,
You know.
yeah. And I think remembering or having the perspective of that the reverse is also true, right? As much as like the grief impacts and cascades and makes everything else fall out of line, working on processing your grief, finding ways to support your grief has a cascading effect as well that can help help some of these other areas start to get back in line.
Mm.
And they can seem so unrelated. I think especially when you're not noticing, I think it's easier to notice negative effects than it is to notice as things start to slowly get better.
Yes.
So, it and they can seem wholly unrelated, right? Like me
Hmm.
meditating doesn't feel like something that's going to make me lose weight, but I can say that as I've worked on my mental mindset, done those things that have helped me energetically get more aligned, that I have started to lose weight, and it's not
Because you've
not
lowered
because
your
I'm
cortisol
dieting.
levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which are things we
basically.
can't see. So I think they also make it hard to understand. And when you're already, I mean, and you, I mean, that's what I think is amazing. You already had this background and experience. And even though I totally understand and can agree that even simply having an awareness of it does not mean you can control all of it, right? Like you're still going to experience, but you at least can see like, oh, I kind of can see the correlation and why things are happening. Because when I started out, I was just like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand why my brain is suddenly shutting down memories of Orion where I feel like he never existed. I look at pictures and I don't feel any attachment to him. He could just be like a random, or somebody's random kid. Like my brain would just lock all that off. And then I would panic because I would think, oh my God, am I forgetting him? Am I not going to remember him? Am I not going to feel, that connection with him? And really it was like my brain safeguarding because
Protecting you. Yeah.
but I didn't understand all of that. And so then it would lead to like other probably negative effects of like more stress about
Yeah.
reacting to the way my body was
But
reacting.
what we're
Yeah.
both agreeing with here was that we didn't know grief entailed all of this. I mean, I might have had a little bit of knowledge about stress and cortisol, but I didn't really relate it to grief and trauma because it wasn't my experience. But it also wasn't something that I'd come across or read about particularly in relation to grief and trauma. So when it happened to me, it was still a shock. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the cortisol. Oh, fight or flight. I'm stuck in fight or flight. Okay, what am I going to do about this? So I understood it, but I was still surprised that this is what grief entailed. And I think that's why I feel there's such a need for grief education because we're not the only people, who go through
Yeah.
this. And yeah, it's there's just and when people around us don't understand it, then that makes us feel isolated. So would you say because I think I see it in myself and people I work with, but did you feel quite isolated in what you were going through? Because no one got it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't know. I knew a couple people that had experienced child loss, but by and large, I didn't know a lot of people. So there's that kind of isolation. But then I think beyond that even is the kind of isolation that like talking about nervous system dysregulation was not part of my vocabulary before Orion died.